So this might come as a big surprise to anyone that knows me or has watched this channel. I love music. I'm a big music fan. Being a music fan is a huge part of my identity. It has a lot to do with the way I see the world. It's opened me up to ideas and experiences that I never would have had otherwise. And if I had to guess, probably plays a pretty big role in the fact that I started a YouTube channel to talk about roots music, though you can never be too sure these days. Recently, I just started a new day job that has me back in the office after 3 years of working from home, and now that I have a commute again, I've been catching up on a lot of albums that I've wanted to listen to for a long time, new albums that I just haven't gotten around to yet, classic albums that I've never gotten a chance to listen to before. I'm really making up for lost time listening to music in my car for 50 minutes a day. And as I've been doing that, I've been listening to a lot of artists that either I haven't listened to before or genres that maybe I'm not as familiar with. And that's made me really think about what it means to be a music fan. Because music fans exist on a pretty wide spectrum, but given the range of artists and genres and styles of music that I listen to on a regular basis, and also given the number of concerts I've gone to see, the number of artist interactions I've had over the years, the time I've spent listening and carefully analyzing music, reading liner notes, and just engaging with the art form in as many ways as possible, I think I might know a thing or two about being a music fan. And while there are many different ways to do it, I thought I would share my personal philosophy on being a music fan, engaging with art and artists, so that you might fall even deeper in love with music and find a new path on your journey. Before I begin, I'm not saying my way is the right way, I'm not saying my way is better than anyone else's. This is just what works for me as a music fan, this is what I believe, and if you engage with music in a different way, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. When I was a kid, I watched my parents and their friends listening to CDs on the stereo on the weekend, talking about these legendary artists that they loved, the Allman Brothers, Tom Petty, Marshall Tucker Band, Patsy Cline, Gordon Lightfoot, all these people. And they would get into telling stories about these artists' career, the legends behind these songs, and even telling stories about the times that they got to see them live. This certainly rubbed off on me, and I started getting very invested in the music that my parents and my older brother were showing me. But it wasn't until I was in high school that I finally had something that was just mine. That's when I discovered the Doors. It may come as a shock to some of y'all who follow me because I talk about Turnpike Troubadours and Jason Isbell and all that stuff, but when I was in high school, I was a massive Doors fan. I was captured by the dark lyrics, the psychedelic instrumentals, the kind of sense of danger and the legend behind Jim Morrison. That all appealed to an angsty teenager in the same way that maybe Green Day did for you. There was a moment in time where I probably could have told you any piece of Doors trivia you would have wanted to know. And I think that obsessive interest was two things. One, ADHD hyperfocus, and two, I was modeling the behavior I had watched my parents display. That Doors infatuation didn't last, but the love for music certainly did. Slowly but surely I began expanding my horizons out even further. I found Jason Isbell when I was 16 and got immersed in the world of Americana, and that led me to producer Dave Cobb, which led me to discover Brandi Carlile and Sturgill Simpson. Then Sturgill Simpson led me to Tyler Childers. I'd go to concerts with friends and see everything from T-Pain to the Milk Carton Kids. I'd go to local shows with friends and see bands like Illiterate Light, who at the time was breaking out in the college town that I went to school at. And so slowly, as I would discover stuff on my own or friends would show me music, I would be chiseling away at this idea of what I thought music was and what music I enjoyed. And so I think my biggest guiding principle for being a music fan is curiosity. Curiosity is so essential to experiencing music. Note, I said experiencing, not listening. Anyone can hear music, but you have to get in close to experience it. Feel around a little bit, try and figure out what's working and why. There's a wide range of music out there in a variety of different genres, styles, tempos, everything. And it can be so easy to write off an entire category of music based on assumptions of what we like and we don't like. Even as someone that prides myself on having pretty eclectic tastes in music, I still find myself falling guilty of this. But fighting that urge can be so rewarding. When I was 17, my friend Ethan showed me the song King Kunta in his car, and that was the first time I'd really engaged with a rap song that I liked. Slowly that began to percolate. Started listening to the rest of Kendrick's catalog, started finding other artists I liked, Tyler the Creator, Chance the Rapper, eventually the Wu-Tang Clan, and I just started exploring and loving music in a genre that I'd previously written off as a younger person just because of messages that I had heard from other people growing up in my predominantly white rural community. The key there was listening to understand intent. What is the artist trying to say? What do you think they want you to take away from listening to their music? You might walk away with an interpretation that's totally different than what the artist intended when they recorded it. But that's okay. You tried to engage, you tried to understand. And sure, sometimes the intent can be shallow. It can be bubblegum pop. But sometimes the intent is deep. And if you write off an entire genre or category of music just because you heard one song a long time ago that you didn't like, you're really just doing yourself a disservice. Now with that said, it's okay to like what you like. If you give an artist, a song, album, genre of music, whatever, an honest try, and you come away from it realizing that you don't really enjoy it, that's okay too. I'm not really a big punk rock fan, but I've tried, and I can tell you for sure there are some styles of punk that I enjoy more than others. But I drew that conclusion from listening to a wide range of artists from within that genre. Music wouldn't be enjoyable at all if you're just constantly listening to stuff you hate. But still, challenge yourself from time to time. You might be surprised by a new artist, or might find that an older artist that you had written off previously has actually grown on you. Now, it's important to make sure that you're listening to the music out of curiosity and because it's something that you want to do. Not because you think it's trendy or cool or it makes you smart or deep or something like that. I probably would not have admitted to this at the time, but I definitely listened to a lot of music when I was younger because I thought it made me cool and different. And did I really enjoy that music all that much? Well, I can't remember the last time I listened to Bright Eyes, so probably not. My advice would be if you're going to embark down this path, make sure you're going with the right intentions. Now you can listen to an album because someone that you look up to or respect recommended it to you. That's fine. You can listen to music because you've been hearing a lot about it recently. It's gotten a lot of buzz and you're curious because of that. But if you can tell you don't like something and you're just listening to it to fit in, that's just miserable. Don't do that. Listening to music is a deeply personal experience, and it should feel fulfilling. There have been songs I've listened to that have left me in tears, have left me on the floor, have inspired the most unbelievable joy I've ever felt in my life, have made me question things I just took as inherently true. Don't rob yourself of that experience. I'm going to talk a little bit about being a fan of artists in particular here in a second, but before I do, if you're enjoying this video, please like, subscribe, follow along. I talk about roots music on this channel, and I might talk about some of your favorite artists too. Now that we've talked a bit about the role that curiosity plays in experiencing music, I want to talk a bit about my approach to being a fan of specific artists. There are some artists out there that consistently put out music that I like, that I connect with, and in that way I start to develop a bit of a fan relationship with them. But I think a lot of fans, and myself included, have made the mistake of putting artists that they like up on a pedestal. And this has a way of stripping these artists of their humanity in our own minds. This can be well-intentioned, this can be malicious, but either way, it's really not healthy. One of the reasons I decided to film this video was because of a situation I saw unfolding online recently, where Mandy Moore, actress, singer, and wife of Dawes frontman Taylor Goldsmith, after the Palisades fire destroyed their homes, Mandy reshared a GoFundMe page someone had created for her brother-in-law Griffin Goldsmith, who was expecting a child in a couple of weeks and lost everything. And in doing that, she somehow managed to trigger the wrath of the internet. People were dragging her, saying she wasn't helping out her family, like, how come we need to help you all out, you are rich? And just being generally nasty to her for trying to help out a family member in need. And honestly, that's really messed up. I know tensions with class are really high in this country right now, but it seems really messed up to me that she did something that anyone would do for their family member and then was viciously attacked for it by a lot of people that were making assumptions, quite frankly. I mean, just how do you know that she didn't also donate money to that? How did you know that they aren't helping out her in-laws? And I do think a big part of that is the way that we hold popular artists to a totally different standard of anyone else. Whether you feel like you're enabled to attack someone because they did something that you don't like and you don't know them, or you're putting them on a pedestal and think that they can do no harm, do nothing wrong whatsoever. They're opposite extremes, but they're kind of the same thing. So I think it's really important to try to demystify the celebrity and just remember the humanity inside of these people. And look, I've had my fanboy moments. I got to meet Dawes at the merch table one time when they opened for John Mayer. I met the whole band at once, and it freaked me out. I definitely made a damn fool of myself there. I'll be honest, I look up to them, I like their music a lot, and as a young person that was very overwhelming. But over time, as I've had the opportunity to meet more artists, it's been a lot easier to converse with them, because I realize they have the same wants and needs as anyone else. A good rule of thumb, don't get too invested in the artists you enjoy beyond their art. Especially, I think, don't get invested in their personal relationships. In music fandom, there's this common thing called a parasocial relationship, where one person feels an extreme attachment to someone else who has no idea that they exist. You got your Swifties, Drake stans, the Beehive. Anytime when that's like taken to the extreme, that's a parasocial relationship. And one of the areas that those fans tend to zero in on the most are those artists' romantic relationships. Music history is full of big power couples like Johnny Cash and June Carter. And I think as a society that's kind of programmed us to be invested in these artists' relationships. When really, I think most artists would rather people focus on their body of work and not their personal relationships. And truth be told, I think they deserve that. You're a fan of them for their art first, not because of who they're dating. I mean, there's a reason like why Gillian Welch and David Rawlings don't talk about their marriage. It's private, and people should respect that. It is really important to remember this. Who someone's dating has nothing to do with you. There is no reason anyone needs to be sending John Mayer death threats over the song Dear John, or people need to be blaming Ariana Grande for Mac Miller's death. It is so unhealthy. You definitely do not need to be losing sleep at night over who an artist you enjoy is dating or married to. And look, I understand too, this can be very difficult to draw the line when an artist brings their personal life into their art. I experienced this when Jason Isbell and Amanda Shires recently divorced, because Isbell's really built a lot of his public image over the past decade off of his family life. It's a difficult line to balance between, yeah, you're curious because you like this person's art, you like their music, and also, it's not my life, I shouldn't be too concerned about this. And I certainly think people shouldn't speculate anything beyond what they have talked about in public and shared in open forums. But given how integral that family life story was to the public image and the art for so many years, I can't really fault people for being invested. One of the most enduring debates in music is separating the art from the artist. If an artist does something bad, does that immediately disqualify their entire catalog? I think it has to just be up to you and what you're willing to tolerate. However, I personally don't really want to listen to those people. I was a big fan of Ryan Adams growing up, and when allegations came out against him in 2019 of being an abuser and of grooming, I didn't have a whole lot of reason to doubt it. And because I felt this connection with his music, I felt kind of hurt, and I was just done. I just couldn't listen to it anymore. It had all kind of been spoiled for me. And yes, I realize that's like slightly parasocial behavior, but you know, we're all growing. And the music industry is wrought with terrible stories of artists doing terrible, immoral things. But I think you kind of have to draw that line on your own. I'm not going to judge you if you want to keep on listening to his music. If you like Cold Roses, that's fine, but it just wasn't for me anymore. In my opinion, I feel like there are enough good people making good music out there that I don't feel like I need to excuse or look the other way on behavior that I disagree with just so I can continue to listen to that music. The last thing I'm going to say about being a fan of specific artists is they don't owe you anything. Just because you feel a deep connection to the music doesn't mean that as an artist, they're there to cater to you. Their job is to create, not to create for you. If you run into your favorite artist backstage after a concert, go ahead, ask for a photo, ask for an autograph, but if they say no, you've got to just respect that. And when an artist releases a new album or you go to see them in concert, be open to what they have to offer, what they're trying to tell you. Artists might play new songs or songs that you don't know from deeper in their catalog. It's going to be very rare that you go to a concert and you're going to hear everything that you wanted to hear. So, try and just listen out for what they are trying to say. This is going back again to that listening to understand intent thing I talked about earlier. Be open to receiving the message in the way they intended. You may dislike it, you may disagree with it, but just try to understand it. You might learn something, or you might have an experience you wouldn't have had otherwise. The overall point of all this is just be thoughtful and enjoy. There's so much great music out there and so many interesting stories behind that. Have fun with it. Explore areas that might feel weird or uncomfortable to you. If you keep an open mind, you might find things that surprise you. You might even find your new favorite artists. Just don't stand in your own way. Let the music come to you. Alright, these are my thoughts about how I enjoy music. How do you enjoy it? Is my kind of thinking a little bit crazy? Does it track? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I'm Brent Funkhauser from Red Moon Media. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. I cover alt country, Americana, and all sorts of different types of roots music here. And if you follow along, I might talk about some of your favorite artists.